Welcome to the TCM Teach Podcast, the podcast designed exclusively for acupuncturists and Chinese medicine herbalists who are looking to build thriving, sustainable businesses. So who am I? I'm Sabey Smith. I'm a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, professor, and entrepreneur. And one of the biggest concerns I hear from practitioners when it comes to marketing is this: if I teach too much, won't patients just try to treat themselves? Or am I giving away what I'm supposed to be paid for? Today, we're actually going to talk about this. We're going to talk about content marketing, specifically how to educate your patients in a way that builds trust and authority without over-explaining, overwhelming, or undercutting your value. So when done well, education doesn't replace your services. It actually increases demand for them. If you've ever felt stuck between saying too much or saying nothing at all, this episode is for you. So we're going to dive into it right after my disclaimer. Please remember, I am simply a practitioner here to support you on your journey. The information shared in this podcast is intended for educational and learning purposes only, and it should not be taken as professional, legal, or financial advice. So for guidance specific to your business, please consult with the appropriate licensed professional. Thank you. So, the fear behind giving away too much. Most practitioners don't fear teaching. Or if you do, let me remind you, you're teaching patients constantly, day in, day out, on a daily basis. And you had to do this in school too. It's no different. What practitioners fear by this is being undervalued. Taking so much time, energy, things that they ultimately paid for, and teaching it maybe for free. Nobody wants to feel undervalued. But if we can increase exposure to increase your value as well, there's another way to flip it around. The thing is, education can feel risky when you ultimately worked hard for your knowledge. Your training was expensive and intense, and you've seen patients try to self-diagnose. So why would this be any different? But the patients don't book because they lack information. They book because they need application, discernment, and care. Ultimately, your patients are not you. Your patients don't know how to apply the knowledge that you share. And if they do, then maybe they're not really your patients. There's plenty of people that would be. The key here is information does not replace expertise. It doesn't replace the real world application of things. Yes, we can read things in a book and apply them. However, until you've learned the nuances behind that information, it's not going to be applied the same as a professional. So keep that in mind when it comes to your educating. And this is something that even I went through. Should I really make this podcast? When I actually originally made this podcast, it was going to be private only. And then I really thought about it. I was like, no, because then it's going to reach less people. And if people apply it, great. They learned something from me. It's me applying my education and my knowledge and helping other people. And that comes back to you. It really does. So don't try and gatekeep. There's too much information that has fallen through the cracks through generations on various subjects from gatekeeping. Put the information out there. It's okay. Help people. Keep that as your motive. That's why you became a practitioner. So what's the difference between information and treatment? Information explains what is happening. Pattern differentiation, clinical judgment, skilled hands, ongoing adjustment. Content can educate patients on how acupuncture works, what conditions respond well, and what treatment feels like. And this fits for herbs too, obviously. Content should not try to diagnose, prescribe protocols, or replace individualized care. The only time you could do this is if you're trying to teach practitioners. Yes, then they could take it and apply it. But if you're trying to build a clinic for patients, that's going to go over their heads. So keep that in mind. Remember in previous episodes with me talking about speak to who you want to walk through the door. Teach the why, not the how. Here's why I can help you. But you still need me to help you, right? Keep that in mind when you're creating any form of content, sharing any type of knowledge and education, because ultimately you are still the professional and the person that needs to carry out the acupuncture, the herbal formulas. There's going to be people that are going to try and self-diagnose and do their own thing. And you just have to accept that. As long as you're not doing something where it would put you at legal risk, of course, then that's how it's going to go. Don't be in a scarcity mindset where sharing your knowledge is not going to come back to you. It will. When you share knowledge, you're helping people. And truly come from that place. I come from that place when I create this podcast. I am here to help fellow practitioners. I am here to help grow TCM in the ways that I feel could be most beneficial, because I find the greatest lack in the education is the business knowledge. And I feel like a good person who can help fill in that gap. So that's why I create the podcast, for example. Okay, next, what patients actually want from educational content. Patients are not looking to become practitioners. They want to know, does this apply to me? Is this safe? Do you understand my situation? And can you help someone like me? Effective content is going to reduce uncertainty, and it does not create a DIY practitioner, a do-it-yourself practitioner. Sure, there's things you may share. For example, TCM nutrition. Someone's like, that sounds like a good idea. I should try that. At the time of recording this podcast, people are obsessed with megadosing creatine. It's like a trend that's been going around. I know that's not necessarily TCM, but it's a trend that's been going around where people are talking about taking 30 grams of creatine at a time and all the benefits that it can do. And while myself as a practitioner have some concerns about that, nonetheless, the DIY people are trying it. Some with success, some not so much. I'm not here to talk about that. The point is, people are going to do what they want with the information one way or another. There's people that take my information and take it the way I did not intend, and they could get ticked off at me. But at the end of the day, my goal is to help practitioners grow better practices. That's what I'm here to do, grow real businesses that are sustainable and help the TCM profession. So let's talk about this little rule, the explain until curious rule. Your goal is not to fully explain. You should come off as more confident if you don't have to fully explain. If you feel like you have to over-explain, it actually can show a little lack of confidence and a little insecurity, and you don't want that. Don't over-explain things. Your goal is to clarify the problem, normalize their experience, show that there is ultimately a solution, and position yourself as the guide. Stop explaining. Again, stop explaining when curiosity increases, confidence is in your expertise rises, and the next step becomes obvious. Remember, clarify the problem, normalize their experience, show that there is a solution, and position yourself as a guide. Then, here is how you can book with me. Call to action. Here's how you book with me. That is what you get. You are not gatekeeping. You are like, we have hit the end of what I can do for you until you become my patient. Also from a legal standpoint, so you're protecting yourself. Think of it that way. Education should not invite, it should invite the next step. It should not complete the journey. Okay? Don't complete the journey. There's plenty of things that even I offer outside of this podcast for businesses. How do you find me? You find me in the podcast. Quick example. The TCM lens on teaching and authority. So here's some nice TCM notes for you. In TCM, mastery is quiet. And there has been so much gatekeeping for generations because that is where value came from. Think of a Ditta Jiao that was protected in a village because that's how their martial artists were getting better faster over the next village out of protection. The most skilled practitioners ultimately speak simply. They don't over-explain, and they let results demonstrate depth. I really want to stress this part to you because I too have run into a lot of people who are like, acupuncture or herbs, like, yeah, that's cute. Does that really work? Hey, I'm not here to argue with you. Or I have people say, I really want more studies on that. I say, good luck. We're talking about the scientific method. It can be a little hard to fit a whole ancient holistic medicine into the more modern day scientific method. There are aspects we can fit, but the scientific method itself is not holistic when you think about it. So truly, can we actually harness all of that in the ways that you are asking to see it, in the ways you've been trained to trust this information? And yes, the scientific method can be very useful. However, it can also be limiting when it comes to holistic medicine in certain regards. So let the results demonstrate the depth. Ultimately, the patient just wants to get better. If you can help them get better, that's all they care about. They don't even care about how or why. Just tell me what to do. And if it works, I'm going to be a really happy person. Your content should reflect your earned knowledge, your clear communication, and you should have a calm authority throughout the entire process. Teach from alignment that builds trust, and don't teach from insecurity, because that is going to create overwhelm. Again, if we relate this back to Shen or someone with a lot of heat, they talk too much. They're insecure. Their Shen is not anchored, solidified, stable. So they talk. Oh, and this and this and this. Oh, and my friend. Like, we don't need to know all that. Get me to where I need to go. Make me feel comfortable. Talk to me as if I am a first grader. If I am the prospective patient, talk to me as if I'm a first grader. Keep it simple, and let's get to work. Ultimately, content, there's ways to create this so that you're not overgiving. High value, low leak content, that's what we'll call it. Myth busting. Pattern explanations without protocols. Case themes, not case details. What we consider in treatment. Why acupuncture is individualized. Again, keep it very surface level. Don't dive into the depths. You don't need to. Avoid step-by-step treatment guides. The DIY people are going to try and take that. And if you're cool with that, okay. If you're not, well, then don't do it. Herb or point prescriptions. That's more if you're speaking to practitioners, not prospective patients. Overly technical breakdowns. Nobody cares. That's more talking to a practitioner. That's not talking to a prospective patient. So please keep that in mind. So how could this build a stronger practice? Educational content pre-qualifies patients. If they're interested in what you have to say, it'll perk their interest. If they're in your area, please remember that. If they're in your area. Now, I will also say your quote unquote content could be videos you post on your website. That could also be a thing you could do. It doesn't have to be social media, okay? It could just be videos that you post for your website, for patients who know about your website, or for the local community. But you want things that will pre-qualify patients, improve compliance, builds respect for your role, and reduces time spent over-explaining in sessions. I assume, I had this a lot, I assume that you have had patients who keep over-explaining so many things, and they talk, and then treatment time is decreasing because they keep talking and you can't get a word in. Now, hopefully you got a lot of practice with that in school, so it's not an issue anymore. But just as an example, avoid the over-explaining and reassure the patient, and the videos ahead of time could be a good way to do that. Ideally, you want to become known as clear, trustworthy, skilled, and worth investing in. Confidence is shown even when you explain less. If you're explaining too much or trying to sound fancy, you're actually showing more of your ego than true confidence. Think about that. Remember that. Content marketing done well ultimately protects your energy at the end of the day. And if someone has anything negative to say, put it to the wayside. Don't worry about it. You are here to focus on patients and help them feel good. Okay. Educating patients does not diminish your value. It clarifies it. When you teach with intention, boundaries, and simplicity, your content becomes a bridge instead of a giveaway. So just like in clinical practice, less often can do more. Remember that even with your point prescriptions, sometimes less can ultimately be more effective. So if you want help structuring education content that builds authority without burnout, I cover this in depth inside the TCM Teach membership on Patreon in the Practitioner Hub section. So this includes content frameworks, boundaries for teaching online, and real-world examples from working clinics. So in our next episode, we'll be diving into podcasting and YouTube as an acupuncturist, something that you can see I am quite familiar with. So until then, thank you for listening to the TCM Teach Podcast, and we will see you next time. 谢谢。